Okay, making money's easy, from selling your roast beef on OnlyFans to actually working a 9 to 5. But today, we aren't talking about thoughts, we're talking about legends and the most interesting scams in history. Starting off with McGregor. No, not that one. Gregor Mcgregor is the greatest of all time and would KO that Mayweather scam round 1. Gregor was the Prince of Poyais. It's a country near Honduras. I know it sounds African, but it's not. It's here in Central America. Poyais was a voluptuous beauty, but a country no more real than El Dorado. This is Gregor's claim to fame, the Poyais Scam. Our story begins in 1821, where just years prior, McGregor boinked the right person at the right time and conned his way up the Venezuelan military ranks with his charm, rubbing shoulders with the elite of society, if you know what I mean.
Oh, you touch my tra-la-la.
He was born in the UK, and upon his return he claimed to be the Prince of Poyais. McGregor presented Poyais as a utopian paradise with land so fertile that you wouldn't need that plant Viagra. You see, it had the perfect climate, abundant resources, it was just missing investors and settlers. To slide into the investors' DMs, Gregor needed a hype man. And what better hype man than himself?
Yeah, boy.
Under various aliases, he published books, pamphlets, brochures, he had paintings commissioned, and even forged fake currency to be used in this fictional land. Using his charm and charisma, he sold bonds and land grants to the British, promising them lucrative returns and an opportunity to seed Poyais themselves. For the skeptics, he simply pointed to the books he wrote. Only a moron would refuse the opportunity. So the settlers sailed for Poyais, only to discover that the land was an inhospitable, uninhabited jungle. It was McGregor's shithole. It was a wasteland, and most settlers died. Well, the Brits found out, but Gregor already left. He went to France to pull the same scam again. Unfortunately for him, this was when the French were actually a little bit competent, unlike how they are today. He was imprisoned, but only for a few short months because he rizzed his way out, pinning the blame on a somebody in the Netherlands. When he was released, the scam went on for another 15 years, and in total, he looted 1.3 million euros. Eventually, he moved back to Venezuela, where he received full honors, a military pension, and retired as the Prince of Poyais. Craig Stevens and the In-N-Out scam. In-N-Out is the GOAT. They even have the power to make the great Gordon Ramsay into an idiot sandwich. So when a 55-year-old California nobody, Craig Stevens, reached out to investors in the Middle East, offering them franchise opportunities, it was a deal that would make them very thirsty boys. Almost as thirsty as the burgers would make them. It was like the Nigerian Prince scam, but this time conducted by an American. You could say the scammy has become the scammer. When he slid into their DMs, he offered them franchises for the low cost of $150,000 per location. He scammed these people out of more than $4 million before getting caught and spending 2 years in prison. I mean, come on, 2 years for $4 million? Who wouldn't do that? Sign me up. Unfortunately, for the low IQ investors, In-N-Out is privately owned, doesn't franchise, and hasn't even yet fully expanded across America yet. They could have Googled it, they could have Bing searched it, they could have Yahoo'd it. But nope, they got scammed. And it just goes to show that some of those oil tycoons over there have more money than sense. But they're rich, so who gives a shit? Victor Lustig and the Eiffel Tower Scam. Victor was a career criminal. It was in his soul. He started from simple panhandling and pickpocketing, moving out to selling boxes that could print money, by the way it can't, to scamming Al Capone. But he was too pussy for that, so he gave the money back. But what he's really known for is selling the Eiffel Tower. Not once, but twice. His refractory period was that of a Greek god.
Oh, yeah.
One day, he read in the newspapers that the Eiffel Tower wasn't meant to stand for more than a few decades. So in the 1920s, Victor brought a trusty hard hat and a clipboard, went to Paris, invited scrap metal dealers to a secret meeting at a nearby luxury hotel, just to make it seem more legit, Of course, he had all the necessary forged paperwork and documents ready too. But what really sold it was his hard hat, his composure, and his charm. Act like you belong, Victor always says. In the meeting, he convinced the men that the upkeep of the tower was just too much for Paris, and that they needed to sell it for scrap. It was a government project too, so they needed to keep it hush-hush. That should have tipped them off that this was a scam, because the government can't keep anything a secret. But Victor found someone who would fall for it. His mark, André Poisson, a green businessman who wanted to prove himself. Easy prey. He met with André again, but this time alone, securing a bribe of 70,000 francs, which is over $1 million in today's money, to secure the contract. Victor left him high and dry. And now as for André, well, he never reported the scam. This guy was just too ashamed and too embarrassed to, which was what Victor was counting on all along. He later returned the same year to pull the same scam again. even finding another Mark willing to buy the tower, again. But this time, the police were informed and Victor fled to America, continuing his life of deception and fraud before eventually getting caught for the crime of counterfeiting money. Remember, boys and girls, you don't fuck with the tax man. Charles Ponzi and the OG Ponzi scheme. Charles Ponzi is the man who started it all. He was an Italian immigrant to America, and his scheme operated from the 1920s. Yes, we're in the 1920s again. This was a great time for scammers. So the scheme revolved around the arbitrage of international reply coupons. These IRCs are priced differently and can be exchanged in for stamps in any country. If the price between two countries is different, you can make money by buying low and selling high. It's basic math. This is all legit, but impossible. You see, Ponzi would need to fill Titanic-sized ships, or the equivalent of one ship that can carry your mom, full of stamps just to pay off a handful of investors. So what he did was a high IQ play. He found 18 people to invest in his company with a total of $1,800. He paid them the very next month with the money obtained from a new set of suckers, investors. The scam came down to when he got new money from investors, he would use that to pay his old investors. And impressed with the returns, they wouldn't take profit, no. They would reinvest it, like what I'm supposed to be doing, instead of spending on some other not-so-savory things. He did this again, and again, and again. News of his gains spread faster than GME stock, and his investments increased rapidly, hitting 2.5 million 6 months later and growing more each day. But it all came crumbling down when those dang journalists and US attorneys realized that this was impossible and that the audit revealed that Ponzi wasn't making any money at all. It went viral on the 1920s TikTok, and the investors ran to cash out. Ponzi couldn't find more money, he couldn't pay investors. The Ponzi scheme collapsed, wiping out $20 million or $222 million in our money. While Charles Ponzi may have given birth to the Ponzi scheme, Bernie Madoff leveled it up. Madoff orchestrated the largest Ponzi scheme that we currently know about. FYI, taxes are the largest Ponzi schemes. It all started in the 1980s and lasted till 2008 when the financial crisis hit and investors wanted to liquidate. Madoff couldn't pay. His son turned him in, probably so that his family can avoid jail time. Makes sense. But the funny thing is that he didn't even have to do the scam. Madoff was already filthy rich. He was already making hundreds of millions a year. Madoff was a stock market maker. If you don't know what that is, it all boils down to he would profit off the bid-ask spread of stocks. And as a market maker, he had power over Wall Street. He even became the chair of the NASDAQ. His scam was a run-of-the-mill Ponzi scheme of paying old investors with new investor money. And he claimed to make money off a collared option play. Spoiler alert, he didn't. It's pretty much just insurance, but unfortunately, there's no insurance against scams because Madoff swindled $65 billion from charities, pensions, investors, and the dangerously powerful elites of society, landing him 150 years in prison, one of the longest sentences for a financial crime. And always remember, guys, he didn't kill himself. Moral of the story is, you should really know what you're investing in. So tell me, why the fuck Nvidia is worth so much? Let me know anything in the comments below. Subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching.